Hi, this is Mr. Weston. Today we are doing a Khan Academy tutorial on powers of the imaginary unit. This is seemingly a very complex topic, but I'm going to break it down for you and show you that it's really not that bad. So the first question comes out with the doozy. Which of the following is equivalent to the complex number I to the 35th power? I'm going to break down a couple things for you first before we get into answering this. So first off, if we're talking about imaginary numbers or complex numbers, we're talking about the origin of square root of negative numbers. So I is the imaginary unit, and it is equal to the square root of -1. That's kind of where everything originates. The reason why we came up with the imaginary unit is because there's no two numbers that will multiply together to give you negative, which is why they came up with I to handle the situation square root of -1. So if we're looking at I, just I, we know that that's equal to the square root, whoops, let me undo that a second, the square root of -1. Okay, so that's our first power of I. Now, we're going to kind of build off of that. So if we're talking about I squared, that means we're talking about I times I. So that would be I squared, right? Now, if we know that I is equal to the square root of -1, that takes us over here. What is the square root of -1 times the square root of -1? Okay, a lot of people are kind of confused by that. I'm going to show you that it's really not that difficult with some easier situations. So if we're looking at square root of 5 times square root of 5, I don't know the square root of 5 off the top of my head. It's not a perfect square. But I know if I multiply those two together, I get the square root of 25. And the square root of 25, I do know, that's equal to whoops, gotta go backwards. That's equal to just 5. Okay, square root of 25, what times itself twice equals 25, and that's just 5. Same thing with square root of 3. I don't know the square root of 3 off the top of my head, but if I know I multiply it by itself, I know I get the square root of 9, which is equal to 3. So you're seeing if we multiply a square root times itself, we get the number or the term that's just under the square root. Same thing with x. If I multiply square root of x times itself, I'm going to get the square root of x squared. And if I take the square root of a square, I'm going to be left with just the number underneath the term. So if I multiply a square root of -1 times the square root of -1, I'm just going to get -1 as an answer. So -1 is going to be that. Okay, now if I multiply I squared, which I know is -1 now, and I multiply it by I, that will give me I cubed. Well, I know I is equal to the square root of -1. So this is the toughest one, is I get negative square root of -1 for I cubed. And the last one's my favorite one. That's essentially just I squared times I squared, which I know is -1 times -1. That gives me a positive 1. I went over that quick. The most important part of this is being able to build this yourself. So if you don't know how to do this, I would recommend how can I create this chart on my own, and then once you have it, just to reference it. You don't have to do that over and over again. But that's important to be able to reference this chart right here. All right, now we're going to get into the actual problem, which is, what is I to the 35th power? Well, if you notice, if we go up to I to the 5th power, okay, that's essentially I to the 4th power times I. Well, we know I to the 4th is just 1. That's your key. Knowing that I to the 4th is just equal to 1 tells us that every time we get to the 5th power, the 5th number in the sequence, we're starting over again because we just get I for our answer, or square root of -1. So you can see that this just repeats. Once we get to I to the 6th, it's going to be the same thing as I squared. Once we get to I to the 7th, it's the same thing as I cubed, and so forth. So we're looking for multiples of 4 to get us close to 35. I know that 4 times 8 gets me close, 32. 4 times 9 is too big. Okay, it takes me to 36. You could use it that, but I'm gonna start with 4 to the 8th power gives me 32. That means that 32 is my, if I had I to the 32nd power, that would be equal to just 1. That means I'm gonna erase some of this stuff, just give myself a little bit more room. You can always pause and rewind and all that stuff if you need to see that again. Okay, so now I'm looking at I to the 33, and that gives me the square root of -1 because I'm back at the start of my series. If I knew that this was a multiple of 1, I to the 4th, that means I to the 3rd power is just back to my I right there. That means I have I to the 34, and that is going to be -1. I'm just reading right from here down. And then I to the 35th is going to be negative square root of -1. Okay, or negative I, which is what the answer is right there. So I'm going to put D, check it, and I'm done. Okay, now we're rolling here. Now I have I to the 28th power. Well, I'm pretty sure that's a multiple of 4. 7 times 4 equals 28. What does that tell me? That tells me that I to the 4th power 7 times. Okay, so if I did that 7 times, raised to the 7th power, that would give me I to the 28th. Well, I know I to the 4th is the same thing as 1. I'm just replacing it from my chart. So it's going to be 1 to the 7th power. That's just 1. So 1 is my answer for this. That's what the power of this chart is if you know it repeats every 4 cycles, or on the 5th one it starts over again, you can just use that as a reference and complete all these answers by using multiples of 4. Here's another good example. So I know that I to the 4th power, and I can get close to it 4 times, right? And that will take me to I to the 16th. Okay, so I don't want I to the 16th, I want I to the 17th, but let's just see what I get. So I to the 4th I know is 1. So I know I to the 16th is just 1. That means I to the 17th starts over with the series. That's going to be I, okay? Back up to my normal I to the 2nd, I to the 3rd, I to the 4th. This was the I to the 4th reference. Now to the next number, we're starting over the series. It's just I. So B is my answer for this. And we're on to the last question, I to the 22nd, okay? So we can get pretty close here. We have, let's see, I to the 4th. That's my 1. That's my building block. And if I do that 5 times, I get I to the 20th power. That means I to the 21st, sorry, that's going to be equal to 1. I to the 21st is going to be my I, and then I to the 22nd is going to be I squared. And my chart tells me I squared is equal to -1, and there's my answer right there, -1. Check it, and we're done. So you can see powers of the imaginary unit. It's a great building block, very important. Almost every Algebra 2 course is going to talk about this, and it's really not that bad. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you need more like it, make sure to check out my channel, and I look forward to seeing you next time right here on Wes Explains Best.